in Pakistan, we have almost 5 to 8% of women that are, simply because women are more than men, and also because sometimes if they go past a certain age, or if they got engaged and then it got broken, or they got divorced, those women remain unmarried.
We've talked about, you and I've talked about this before, that attachment is different than love.
Yes,
And attachment is actually the honoring of false gods.
yes,
The attachment, when you're attached to your husband, when you're attached to your marriage, when you're attached to your family, you're attached to your children, you're attached to anything, then you are putting something above God. You're saying, this is so important to me, I can't afford to let go of it. And when you're in any kind of abusive relationship, this is the opportunity now to recognize that Allah is all powerful. God
yes,
is all powerful. That anything and everything that happens in your life is given to you or taken away by Allah, by God. And so to recognize that is to come to terms with reality. And as you said, Eram, many times when anyone, man or woman, when you come to terms with the omnipotence of Allah, of God, when you come to terms with the fact that everything in your life is being guided and directed by this divine force, then you open yourself up to surrender to that force. And with that surrender, then life begins to change in inexplicable, unexplainable ways. And you and I have both, we both have many, many, many students who we have seen this happen, is that when the student changes, their environment, their relationships change, their environment changes, their situation changes. But it has to begin here inside, right?
yes, yes.
And
And
so
like I said, sometimes you can be in an abusive relationship still and not be affected by it,
that's
because
right.
your source of strength and your source of happiness resides with Allah and not with the husband, or not with the person giving you the pain. I mean, when we look at, I said this in my workshop, look at the importance of, you want to look at the importance of women, I'll just say one thing. The first Muslim, the first believer in Islam was a woman, Hazrat Khadija. The first Shaheed, the first martyr of Islam, was also a woman, Hazrat Sumayya. And so do you really think when Hazrat Sumayya was taking all the beatings and the torture, she thought, oh, I'm going to do this for God, and then God is going to save me and I'm going to have a wonderful life? No, she just knew the truth. So, it was in her body. This was at a sense of knowing that life was not worth living if she had to give up that truth.
Yeah.
So when you get to that level, that's why, by the way, so when you believe God to be such an important source, Allah to be such an important source in your life, and then you hear a slogan like Mera Jism Meri Marzi, or my body, my choice, you're like, it's so offensive. It's not offensive because of who is saying it. It's offensive because it's a lie. It's not truth. It's a lie, and it's true for a man and it's true for a woman. It's,
Yes.
we are all made by God. We are going to go back to God. We belong to God. And we have to recognize that. And yes, sometimes he will transform somebody's life.
Yeah.
And another point I wanted to make, that it's in my book, as I mentioned to you, that I went through three main stages in my life. The first stage was the stage of oppression, and then came the stage of freedom, where I did everything to end the oppression I had suffered in my life, and I was going to attain freedom, financial freedom, independence, and I was going to live life according to my own will. And I realized that all the freedom that I had created, all the achievement I now had, was an attachment. It was now a false God, because I thought this freedom, this independence is my source of joy and the source of happiness and strength in my life. But in reality, it was always God. So now comes the stage of liberation, where you realize true liberation comes from being a slave to Allah, being just saying, nothing is my will, nothing, only your will. And
That's right.
that is true liberation. So
And
sometimes,
I just have to say that, and the compassion, Allah's compassion, is that
yes,
when you live aligned with His will, then your life is filled up with joy.
yes,
The
it is. It
right?
is.
It's just filled up with joy. It's
Yes.
filled up with freedom. It's filled up with, all the things you want. Whether you have
And it's
money or
inner.
not becomes irrelevant.
Inner.
You know.
Yeah, because it comes from inside. It's like, when you let go of the attachments, when you let go of this connect, like, oh, I need this, I want this, I need my husband to treat me better, I need him to love me, I need him to not have affairs with other women so I can feel happy. All of those needs are attachments. And when you suddenly just make Allah your main source of happiness and strength, then that source is from inside. And you could watch your husband having affairs or whatever he's doing, and you would just be, interesting. And you might still wish that he wouldn't do it, but it's not going to rob you of your joy. It's not going to rob you of your strength and your peace. And he may actually it's going to make him start wondering, what just happened to her? Who's this person? And that's actually happened to my students, where the husbands became so confused because she was no longer nagging, she was no longer saying anything, but she wasn't in a bad mood, she was actually in a great mood, she was grateful, she started seeing some of his good qualities, which she swore in the beginning of the course that he had none. And suddenly she started seeing some of the good qualities and some of the care he had shown, and she could appreciate that. And it was just mind-boggling for the guy, like, what just happened here?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the thing is,
but
Eram,
that's
even see, we say that we love someone, right? And yet our love is dependent upon them acting or being in a particular way. This is not love. This is attachment.
yes,
The
it's a
true love
transaction.
is the love that most parents have for their children, I think. Maybe not completely, but some parents have for their children at least, which is what's most important to me is my child's happiness. What's most important to me is their fulfillment. What's most important to me is that my
I would
child.
beg to differ with you here, Chris. Unfortunately, in our culture, in the Pakistani culture, one of the things that I've addressed, because a lot of people raised this issue, was that parents, and you're familiar with the Indian culture, it's pretty much the
Yeah,
same there. We have very high expectations of our children. They have to get certain grades, they have to
yeah,
be
yeah,
a
yeah.
certain way, and then we will love them. Otherwise, it's like
Okay,
we do
so
still love
so
them in our heart,
so it's a
but
bad example then, but
no, it's not a bad
but
example. It's how
but
it should be,
yeah, but
unfortunately.
real love is without conditions. God's love, Allah's love for us is without conditions. Allah loves us whether we're having affairs, whether we're depressed and unhappy, whether we're on the top of the world. Allah doesn't care. God doesn't care what we do or how we do it. Now, will Allah give us guidance about what will bring us fulfillment and what will not? 100%. And if we are doing things which are which will bring us unhappiness and which are not aligned with His will, then we're going to suffer. Guess what? Because Allah is all powerful. But my point here is that in the name of love, husbands or wives get upset with each other because the other is not acting in the way that I want them to act. They're not behaving in the way that I want them to behave. And that is not love. That is attachment. It's attachment to my desires and how I want that person to be. Because if you think about it, and I don't know if anybody listening can get this, but if I'm married to someone and that person is having some affairs, and I love that person with all my heart, then how could I feel anything but happiness for them, that they are having something that brings them joy, that they are having something that brings them fulfillment in some way? If I truly love that person, then that what I want for them is their fulfillment. What I want for them is their joy, is their happiness. And if for some reason they need to, or they want to have that experience with someone else, then if I truly love them, how could I ever not want that for them? Except that
Yeah.
I'm attached, except that I have my own needs. It's not my love for them that makes me judge their affair or their desire to go outside somewhere. It's my attachment, my need for them to feel loved myself. That if they are having a relationship with someone else, then they must not love me. Okay? And if they don't love me, then my world
Yeah.
falls apart. This is not love. This is neediness. This is
This
attachment.
is not love. I agree. And I want to say something else here, but I know that a lot of people, maybe not watching live, but when they watch the recording, are going to have difficulty understanding what you said earlier, that Allah loves you whether you're a sinner or not, whether you're having affairs or not. It was one of those things that, as you recall, I had a very difficult time getting past, because I was raised with the notion that if you're good, then Allah loves you. If you commit sins, then Allah doesn't love you, and Allah is mad at you, and Allah punishes you. It was one of the most difficult things for me to get over. And I'm very grateful that Chris helped me with that. So if you guys are interested, we can do another talk on, because that's a completely different subject. And I tell you that I'm so grateful that I could get past that, because Quran doesn't say anywhere that, where has Quran said that I will only love you if you're perfect? He doesn't say that anywhere. Only the only perfect human beings, as we Muslims believe, are the prophets. Everybody else is liable and capable and do make mistakes. So where does
And
he say that I only
and
love?
I'm willing to bet that if you sat on the shoulder of any prophet throughout their life, there would be times when it appeared that that prophet made mistakes. It may be that they didn't make a mistake,
Well,
but it would
yeah, it
appear
is.
that
No, no,
they
no.
did.
Yeah, it appears that they did. Moses killed someone by
Yeah,
punching him. So yeah, it did
right.
happen. He didn't
Yeah,
mean to, but he did. So
right.
yeah, there are many such examples. But that's I just wanted to put it out there. If you guys would like to hear on that topic, please just make sure you comment, and then when I read them, if there's enough interest, then we'll do a talk on that as well. It was something really important I was going to talk about. Yeah. So I get a lot of questions. As you know, I feel passionately about the subject. Are you okay on time, Chris?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. Um, I'm very passionate on the subject of why Islam has allowed second marriage. Um, and again, this was another concept, another, sticky point for me that I couldn't get over when I was younger. With age and wisdom, debatable, I know, maybe I got wisdom, maybe not, but with age and experience, when you get into the practicality of life and you see what's happening, in Pakistan, we have almost 5 to 8% of women that are, simply because women are more than men, and also because sometimes if they go past a certain age, or if they got engaged and then it got broken, or they got divorced, those women remain unmarried or widow. So we have more women than men that are single. It's a mathematical, logical thing, that what are you going to do unless you're going to have a lot of deviation and a lot of extramarital affairs, and all of those things are going to happen. So
Or a lot. I don't know if in the Muslim tradition you have nuns, but you have a lot of
no, we don't
nuns.
have nuns. We don't have nuns. Um, so Islam actually doesn't. Islam promotes marriage. Doesn't like anyone to be single.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had a couple of women, many women actually, that have approached me because they're in so much pain. And I understand the pain. I get it. It's the pain of betrayal. It's the pain of, looking at your future and it's been changed, and you thought of the future in a certain way and suddenly it's shown up in a different way. That's what the world is going through right now, thanks to Corona. But
Yes.
so the husband took on a second wife, whether it was right or wrong, let's forget about that. When they contact me, they just say, I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And how do I go on? And one of the things they tell me is, when I ask them, okay, well, you do have a choice. Islam doesn't compel you to accept the second wife if you don't want to. You have the choice to leave the marriage. There's nothing wrong with that. And they usually say, I don't have a choice. I can't leave because I don't have a choice. And I always tell them, don't say that. That disempowers you. You do have a choice. You always have a choice. You would rather not exercise that choice. It seems so difficult for you that it's almost impossible. It seems impossible, but it's not impossible. So
Right.
don't say, I don't have a choice. Accept the fact that you do have a choice and you would rather not exercise that choice,
Yeah.
because something dramatically shifts the moment she's able to recognize that. I said, when you say I don't have a choice, you're helpless, you're a victim of circumstances. Something has been done to you and now you must suffer. That's the only outcome you can see. But when you recognize the fact that I do have a choice, it's a choice I would rather not exercise, at least at the moment.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about something. Okay, you're making a choice. Then let's talk about how to make this choice more livable for you, where you can deal with the pain, you can resolve with the pain. Is there some other mind shift that can happen that will cause the pain to lessen? And dramatically, by the time we're done with the session, the pain is gone,
Mm.
or it has shifted down so much that she can breathe and she can actually fathom some hope, that yeah, I have some hope, that I can see some happiness in my future while maintaining this marriage. And so that's an empowered woman in my mind. That's an
Absolutely.
empowered woman, because
100%.
she's no longer depending on her husband to be her only source of joy and happiness and strength. He is sharing that with another woman. She's going to be able to share the love, and it's not causing all this ruckus and chaos in her mind, because she's learned how to control her mind and which direction she's going to allow the thoughts to go, and who else is she going to allow to put thoughts into her head. So she's taking control back in a very big way. And then in that moment, she begins to realize that this second marriage actually was a blessing, because she's now going to have more control and autonomy over herself than she did before when he didn't have a second wife,
Mhm.
right? So God's love and blessings show up in a very different way. But when you are ready to submit, and when you are ready to basically, this is sabr, when you basically say, this this is the most perfect thing that could have happened to me. Why? Because it's happening to me.
That's right.
Why? Because Allah, I believe, loves me more than anyone else on this planet. There's no love possible that can surpass Allah's love. So that being that loves me so much and is the most resourceful being, if there was any other situation that would have been better for me, he would have given it to me. So
Yeah.
this must therefore be the best situation for me, and I have to find the blessing in that.
Exactly.
And suddenly it's a different woman. It's like, wow, I didn't see it that way. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, congratulations, sweetheart. You are an empowered woman. You
Yeah.
have autonomy over yourself. And so when I say autonomy, that begins with your own mind, with what you are choosing to think, and therefore choosing to how you feel,
That's right.
right? That's where it starts.
Well, and the way you started out that story, recognizing that in every moment we always have a choice. You know, the thought I have no choice makes me feel trapped. I feel like I'm trapped and I'm constrained. But once you recognize you have a choice, you may not want to take the choice to leave the marriage because you don't have any means of support and it would be very difficult and it'd be very uncomfortable and all of that. But recognizing you have a choice, that in itself is being an empowered woman or man. But that's empowerment, is recognizing that I have a choice and that I'm making the choice. I am not a victim of my circumstances or situation.
And I want to make a comment here. I was trying to find some questions. If you have any last minute questions, we're at the end of our session. Please send some questions now. And if I missed your question, I'm sorry. I'll have to go back and maybe invite Chris to come back again. A few of the men have been saying, when a woman goes to work in the marketplace, and I know I'm from this culture, I know when you say marketplace, you are using a very derogatory term. I didn't go to any market. I did when I was working in the lending industry and stuff. I was, working for different people and stuff like that. But I happen to be an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO of my own company, and I am a woman, as you can see. I employ mostly women. I employ mostly women who work for me. There's no marketplace. This is the internet. I literally need 24 hours wherever, whichever country I go to. I fire up my laptop and I'm back in business. And it's a business, by the way, that generates millions of dollars every year. And it's run mostly by women and some men, wonderful men like Chris. And most of our clients are women too. So where's the marketplace here? Stop using derogatory terms to basically define the work of women. And the women that work for me are from different countries. There are women from India, there are women from Malaysia, from the Philippines, from the US. Some of them are Muslims, a couple of them are not. And they're all very spiritual, wonderful women. And they're all, by the way, breadwinners for their families. And that's my passion. I always like to employ women whenever possible. So you need to stop using those kinds of terms, which you may not even be consciously aware of, because you consider that it's when a woman goes out to work, it's somehow disrespectful to the family. I understand that the way Pakistan is and the way, unfortunately, Pakistani men are, that's how they are with women. And by the way, I want to take this opportunity to say, all of you guys that send all kinds of weird messages to me, you are going to get banned. Everybody that sends that kind of a message gets banned anyway. It's remarkable that they don't even hear what I'm talking about, what I'm passionate about, what is it that I live for, what is it that I talk about, and they still send requests to chat with them and that kind of stupid stuff. So they get banned immediately. If you don't want that happening to you, don't send me those kinds of messages. And that, by the way, is also that's also a trait of an empowered woman. She knows how to set her boundaries. Yeah. She's kind, she's compassionate, but she also knows how to set boundaries. So yeah, on my platform, I will not tolerate disrespectful women. That's just, I've always said that. If you are abusive to women or you use derogatory terms, you will be banned from my page. You can do that somewhere else, but not on my page. That's my real estate. The thing that I wanted to say, did we cover all the points? Let me just quickly see if you have something to add, Chris.
I think you've done a good job of covering the topic.
Okay, cool. Men can't marry more than one because in that ayat, Allah clearly said he has to do, well, yes, he has to do justice and all of that applies, but we were just talking about the basic right, that does he have the right? It is encouraged. Please understand that. It is encouraged when the society has a situation where single women are in a larger percentage than men, then it is encouraged for men to take on multiple wives, okay? And I am speaking from experience because I actually counsel a lot of women that no longer have any interest in any kind of companionship with their husband, especially the intimacy part. They have no interest. And they tell me that I have put in my years. This is usually true for women 40s and beyond. And they say, I have put in my years, I have put in my time, as if they were doing prison work. I've put in my time. This is now my time to enjoy. And I have a status. I do, I go out with my friends. I want to have time with my family. I do all those things. I want to go to weddings and parties with my husband, and that's about the extent of it. I don't want to have anything more to do with him. Mm. And what is he to do then? What do you suggest? And whenever I ask them, they say, well, I've told him he can have affairs, but he better not marry anybody. And that's appalling to me, because he will be forced then to commit a sin, which is a grave sin in Islam. But please be wary of the fact that you are also responsible, because you are the one not giving permission or, causing problems for that. So that's, again, a different topic. And that, by the way, is not an empowered woman. She could be she could be educated, she could have a job, she could have all of those things, and she's financially independent, but she's not empowered if she's acting that way, because she's making her source of strength and happiness the stature that she enjoys in the society. And so she's willing to do or commit something that is a sin, and kind of control her husband, keep him under control. That's not empowered. That's a bully. So thank you so much, Chris. It's been almost 90 minutes. This was awesome. I think that we may have to invite you back. Will you come back if we have more questions?
Yeah, of course. I love having conversations with you, Eram.
I know that you sleep early and you're sleepy because it's late in Germany. You go to bed early, so I can see that. It was fun talking with you. Always. Thank you
so much.
And my love to your lovely wife. Take care. And thank you all of you guys. Thank you for your comments. Bye-bye.